Hello, hello, hello. It's me, Michelle, your host and pocket of Cody Field Stories, a show where storytelling and Cody hang out. Today, we have a bonus return guest. You may know her as Kayla Van Egdom, but she's since gotten married and is now Kayla McDonald. Hello, welcome back.
Thanks for having me back. It is good to make a return.
Awesome. And what's really cool is you and I have both, a lot has happened since we did our first podcast swap. So let's just dive right in. Let's just go for it. So you are now on writing. Like you found that writing is what gives you joy, not just working out and eating right and things of that nature. Yes?
Yes, so I, believe it or not, made the most wild discovery that my career as a health coach made my challenges with eating, self-worth worse, not better. And I found it did the same for many of my clients. And I found it was writing and creativity and storytelling that actually healed my relationship with food and body image. Wild.
Like, come on. I mean, think about it. No, so you like being creative and we have a unicorn connection from the start. So right there should do off the bat. We're unique, we're different, we're creative, we don't necessarily fit into boxes, and not everybody sees things the way that we do, right? That unicorn in a nutshell, right? And so the fact that you had to go back to yourself, you like you were trying to fit into all these boxes, you were trying to do all of these things and to make your life supposedly what it's supposed to be. You went to yourself, you went back to yourself, you went to what you know, what makes you happy. And the fact that writing is that when you came back and you were like, hey, we have this conversation about this. I was like, yes, please. Is that better?
Yes,
Okay. All right. Sorry about that. That's fine.
perfect.
So, I was saying that you found your way back, and it was through writing.
Exactly.
So, how did that come about, though? How did you like? Did you just was it beyond just journaling? Was it just writing stories, being creative? So, you sent me a story. You said you've got a shark shifter story, and so we're going to talk about that because I have my notes on shark. And now you said shark shifter, and I was like, I've never heard of a shark shifter, so yeah, you're gonna have to send that to me. So I finished it, I read it. Um, I am gonna admit I did skip the sexy stuff. I don't read that stuff. And so I just was like, okay. She said I can skip it, and I did. But there's good stuff in there besides just the sexy stuff. So uh, let's talk about that, and let's talk about how you got back into writing. So why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about your path to how you got to where you are right now?
Well, I got to where I am right now. It has been a wild journey. And I was someone who knew they wanted to be a writer when they were 3 or 4 years old. I would go up to my mom and be like, "Write books one day." And I honestly think it was writing fan fiction from about the age of 12 to 20-ish that really saved my life. So a very dark, unpleasant childhood, and that was the place I could go to escape, to have some form of power when I didn't have power as a child, and to also not feel alone because I could at least connect to these characters and also the online fan fiction community. Whereas in my real life at that time, I was excluded, I was bullied, and I was in this childhood that I would have happily traded for many other people's.
So when you say fan fiction, let's fill the listeners in. So fan fiction is you continue a story that someone else created. So let's pick like Superman. So
Yes.
you, as someone who would write fan fiction, you would take Superman, Lois, the newspaper. So what you do is you create tales using a universe that kind of already exists, correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay. So your fan fiction, can you share what it was?
Absolutely. So when I was 12, I had the biggest crush on Ryan Gosling in Breaker High. And that was like this teenage show where he was going high school on a boat. And, angsty, miserable 12-year-old. I wrote this story where he came to my hometown. It was like a 200-page story. And he basically rescued my character. And then he was my boyfriend. And we traveled around the world. Silly as it was this beautiful healing escape where I had some form of happiness. So creativity really saved me. And from there, from about 14 to 20, I was all about the Days of Our Lives fan fiction. So Lucas and Sammy were like the main couple, but I did stray into other couples as well.
So something that's also really kind of cool is because you were doing fan fiction, you were using that as your outlet. You were able, and this is pun intended, you were able to control the narrative of your life. So you were unhappy, your life was not good. But when you wrote these stories, you were the hero. You were the one that's what I'm saying. Like the power of writing. Like I could cry just like knowing that the power of writing like helped you way back then and it helped you again now. Like you came back to it. You went back to it. Like that is the beauty of writing and that is the beauty of connecting with other writers when they find, oh my God, basically like seriously, I should really get a shirt like writing saved my life. I really like
Me too.
right? I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's what the next podcast should be called. Writing saved my life.
Yes.
So the fact that you were able to tap back into that, you were able to control your own narrative, like with pun intended. Like, I mean, come on. That's what I'm saying. Like, writing is so powerful. Like, people need to tell their story. They need to heal. Like, it's, I guess I'm literally preaching to the choir on this.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. So now that so we're gonna start a cult following here. Writing saved my life. We're gonna go out there and we're gonna find other people that believe the power as well. So here we go. Let's talk about your shark shifter story. So when you created this, was this something that you had in your head as a teenager, or was this something that came to you? Like, like, I don't know any stories about shark shifting. So, number one, my question is, are you a good swimmer?
Yes.
Are sharks your spirit animal?
Yes.
And okay, you cracked me up when you mentioned were sharks. Like I literally laughed out loud when I saw that in there, and I'm really trying hard not to give any spoilers because I don't want to take away from the story, from your the shark shifter story. So, is there shark shifting mythology out there? Like, how did you come across this idea?
Okay, first, I'm a sucker for paranormal romance. Like, give me some Laurel Hamilton, some J.R. Ward, and Laurel Hamilton. She has were bears, were rats. She even had a were swan that like burst into feathers when it shifted. So, other animals are out there. But I love sharks. And I also watched a documentary called Shark Water, which is about the shark finning industry and how awful it is. And it just like broke my heart. So I wanted to write this series about shark shifters. And okay, I'm going to spoil the first book a little bit. The main character, the male main character, has a female mate and she is pregnant. And they're shifting, they're in the water, and she actually gets shark finned. And once a shark gets finned, they're gone. So it really starts with this tragic thing. And I, A, love sharks. B, I love paranormal romance. C, I wanted to write books where sharks weren't the bad guys because they're not. And the shark finning industry is so messed up. So there was some political commentary in there a little bit, something I saw in real life that I was like, that is messed up. And I turned it into a trilogy.
So, okay, thank you. So here, I'm gonna okay. These are my notes. I know this is fiction, but I still felt angry and sick to my stomach about Kara.
Mm-hmm.
When you threw that in there, I just went, ooh. I was just like, this sucks. Like, oh my God. Like, I was trying so hard not to get, I was like, okay, I need to focus on the story. I need to like get my, see, I'm getting upset. I am getting so upset. I'm like, shark finning is awful, awful.
Mm-hmm.
So now I've gotten completely emotional. Justice, justice. So yes. Thank you for this story. Like, okay, so I only read book one.
Yes.
So book two and book three are still out there. Are you planning on doing more to this storyline, or are you going to fan fiction yourself into another avenue with this storyline, I should say?
This is a very interesting question because through my more recent writing experiences, where I basically turned my personal growth and healing journey into a spicy role playing game fan fiction thing using a bunch of healing modalities I've learned, I realized I've been writing about the same two characters repeatedly, and they show up in different forms in multiple books I've written. So the first series I ever wrote, the Pleasure Seeker series, which is a erotic dystopian, and it is dark. Like if you cried over the shark finner stuff, don't read the Pleasure Seeker series. It is messed right up. Just another thing where I was commenting on a lot of what I saw wrong with society. But I had these two characters, Todd and Jason, and one of them was like the morally gray jerk, and he was just like he had issues, a lot of issues. And then you had this like sweet, big-hearted, soft boy who just like helped the morally gray one become less morally gray, and there was a big redemption arc. So of them, and then in the Shifter series, it's interesting because I've written book one and two, and I actually wrote book three 5 years ago, and then I just left it and let it sit. And I'm realizing there were a lot of reasons why I did that, but I'm back editing it and getting ready to release that one. And this one features Todd and no, Tyson and Austin, who are basically like more evolved versions of Todd and Jason. So there's still the one that's got a big chip on his shoulder and he's got some issues. And then you still have that really sweet, tender, puts everybody else first soft boy. And then started to work with those same archetypes, but much more intentionally. And using them to actually further my own growth. They've helped reparent my inner child. They've just done all the things. And at the end of the day, those are the most evolved versions of these same archetypes, if that makes sense.
Totally. No, and again, that's the fact that you are able to take these characters and shift them, pun intended, and mold them into these different stories and their arcs, like and that and so using the power of writing with the tools within writing, the confines of writing, you're able to do that and recognize that and realize, hey, it's the same, but it's not the same, which is again really cool. Like writing has so many benefits. And as you were saying, like it's helping you, internally, emotionally connect back with yourself. Like it's just, like I said, I had, I always knew writing was powerful. That's why I loved reading as a kid. I cried at Where the Red Fern Grows. I cried at Old Yeller. Like that was the power of writing at that young age. And so, realizing that it has such capacity to do such powerful stuff. Like that's just so cool. And so now with the stories that you've been creating, your writing process, like do you work on your stories or do you journal or do you do a little bit of both? Like how has your writing process changed from when you were a teenager writing fan fiction to what you're creating now, like full on books and trilogy series?
So fan fiction was just kind of all over the place. It was, playful. It was fun. I was just a little kid doing the things. Now, when I write, and it has been a while since I've written like a novel, I really love, she's controversial, but Ayn Rand has a really good book called The Art of Fiction. And she talks about this idea of the plot theme and how you have this central message you want to share and create as you write each book. And then all of your plot points, they're not just random. These plot points basically revolve around this one message that you're trying to share with the world. So that's the framework I very much use in my work today. So it has a lot more intention and structure. And it's interesting how different all of my writing projects are, and they really show how my perspective has also evolved as I've grown up, which thankfully it's evolved.
Right. I know if I was still writing the way that my 10-year-old brain like thought, I don't know. I did write apparently I mysteries, something that I just gravitated towards as a child. So it makes sense that at one time I wanted to be like a detective. But the very first story I wrote was in sixth grade, and it was something about the missing emerald or something about an emerald. There was this big fancy ginormous stone that had been stolen, and apparently I wrote this little detective tale. And so I really don't remember it now. I just remember writing it, and I just remember my teacher enjoying it and encouraging it. And all I needed to hear was what she wrote on there, which was a great story. Keep writing. And I was like, cool. At like 12, that's
Yeah.
all I needed to hear. So, but I'm sure it was like if I was to read it now, if I found it somewhere in a box, I would be like, oh, that is a 12-year-old story.
Interesting. I went on fanfiction.net just out of morbid curiosity to look at my old Days of Our Lives fan fiction, and I was reading one of them and I was like, wow, my writing has come a long way, which is a good thing. But it's the interesting thing is I wrote this one story, and as you mentioned, I am all about the sex scenes, and I wrote this one absolutely smut-laden story that had the Days of Our Lives guys all becoming strippers. It was wild. And this woman, 20 years later, I wrote that in 2005. And um he sent this like review and she's like, this was amazing. I know you wrote this so long ago, but it was incredible. I laughed, I cried, I got horny. It was perfect. And I was like, oh, you're still reading this 20 years later. I don't know why, but thanks.
That is hilarious. Oh my God, that's okay. So that has to feel pretty validating though, like if you think about it, right?
It did, especially since, like, you know how some kids rebel by breaking curfew or going out and experimenting with alcohol? I was just writing NC-17 stories at like 15, 16 years old and being like, "Ooh, I'm so bad." And these people are like, these stories are awesome. Still remember this one time. It was terrifying. So I'm 15, 16 years old and I'm, writing one of my smutty stories. And one of the other authors on the Lucas and Sammy message board messages me on MSN because it was the MSN days. And she's like, Kayla, dot, 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 someone is writing NC-17 stories. They're not 17. My heart just dropped. I was like, how did she find out? But I'm trying to play it cool. And I'm like, really? She's like, Jacinda. I was like, okay, we're fine. I'm like, oh my goodness, that's terrible. So yeah, that was my form of teenage
Oh my
rebellion.
God. Oh my God. Oh, my teenage rebellion was much different. I was skipping school and drinking coffee and writing poetry at the coffee shop. So, it was uh I was writing dark stuff, but it was deep, brooding, angsty. I don't know if you can hear the cat in the background. He's got some angst right now, so he doesn't like that I'm talking to someone else right now. I'm sorry. So,
Man,
speaking of cats, though, the part that I did crack up was when she had all the cat gear. When Maxine goes to hang out and she grabs all the cat gear, I like literally laughed out loud. I have little LOL with my little smiley face next to it. So thank you for that. Thank you for, even though it is complete fiction, you still brought it home with the cats. And when you did the push-ups with the kitty cat, like in your video, like I just thought that was absolutely adorable.
right, as someone who's had a few cats over the years, I understand they have a lot of gear and they are high maintenance at times.
They can be. They very much can be. What I also really appreciated, so besides just being paranormal fantasy, you like the villains that you created in the book, in your story. Um, like like I just every time I saw their name on the page, I got mad, I got angry, I got like I just like you just want okay, is it terrible to say you just want these people to die like really horrible deaths? Like they're bad people. Like you created really bad villains and I did not feel bad for them. Like, you know?
I do love writing a good villain that you just love to hate. And I know you're supposed to have like complexity and sympathy for some villains, but people who just go out and in sharks because they want money, like I wouldn't have sympathy for those people in real life. So why would I have sympathy for them in fiction either, right?
Yeah, like I mean they were just straight up pieces of shit. Like I did not I was like, "Okay, you know what? You need to be finned. Like you need to something needs to be chopped off. Like let's just what happens if we chop off both your hands? Like, what does that like obviously I'm not going to do this. Okay, I'm not encouraging violence. I'm not inciting violence. That's not what this is about. This is about the power of writing and how powerful writing is to humans and to tell a story. We're talking about the healing, but justice. You want justice, and so sometimes that justice, really bad people need to die in stories. Like
Absolutely.
I'm just saying, like I don't know if I should just cut all that out or not. I don't know if I should admit that.
Appreciate it because, I think it's sometimes I think every writer has their doubts of like, hey, I'm not Laurel Hamilton or J.R. Ward. Like, I can always improve my craft. And then you get those like 2-star reviews on Amazon over a book, and you're like, whoa, does my writing just suck? And then hearing someone say that they're almost moved to tears and they hated the villain so much they wanted them to die, it's like, sure, as a writer, I'm always looking to improve my craft and get better. I do have some gifts as a writer, obviously.
There you go. There. Oh, and that's something I So I just had my book tour. I just had my book release. I just did all of these things. So I am probably gonna start getting those reviews, and this is all new territory to me. I have no idea. Like I've done this part, and now the next step is it's out there, and now it's gonna be in other people's hands. And I know my
Yes.
writing isn't going to resonate with others. I mean, I know my little powerful, Church of the Writing Power Healing, isn't going to resonate with everybody. But I would hope that it makes some people happy and they want to read it and, they would write a 5-star review. So, is there something that you've done to like help yourself, you know, deal with the naysayers and the people that are like, yeah, this just isn't for me. And the fact that they have to put it out instead of just being like, yeah, this book isn't for me, they put it out there and they're like, yeah, this book isn't for me and it shouldn't be for you either. Like, how do you respond to that?
Worst part is a lot of the times it's just ratings. They don't even have If they're gonna leave the lower star review, it would be nice to know, hey, this writing sucked. Hey, there were typos. Hey, I hated the sex scenes. Why was it so smutty? Hey, I think sharks are evil. Knowing so that I could at least improve. Although I personally believe that it's not my business what people think of my writing. And I have a really good analogy I'll share for in a second. I when I think about those lower star reviews and those lower star ratings, especially, I think about myself as a creative, and I imagine you're very similar. I know the amount of care and effort and, you know, you're bleeding onto like a page or a Word document. I would never go and give someone else a one, two, three, 4 star review, 5 stars only. I mean, I could not finish J.R. Tolkien's books because I don't like him describing a meadow for 10 pages. That's a personal preference. So I'm never going to go and say his books suck and give him a low rating because so many people love him and I respect that. And in my humble opinion, the people that are giving those low reviews or low ratings, it's because they're not being creative themselves and they're just exerting some form of control out in the world because they're feeling creatively repressed. At least that's what I like to tell myself. And then back to that analogy, because I just heard it recently and it was so good. So this woman on Instagram, I think her name's Amanda Louise, and she was talking about how if someone's walking down the street wearing an outfit, they're not automatically asking you to go up to them and comment on their outfit. They're wearing their outfit, being self-expressed. And I feel like as an author, sure, I'm going to put my work out there and it's going to get reviewed and it's going to have whatever, but it's not my business to go and read those reviews and see what people are saying because it's about the creative process and putting it out there. So I try not to get crazy high about the really, really good reviews. Like I appreciate them, don't get me wrong. And I'm also not going to get low about the anonymous 2 star rating that someone couldn't even put words behind. I think it is more about remembering some people are going to love it, some people are going to be meh about it, and some people are going to hate it because that's more about them than about the author themselves.
I think that is excellent. And so, should I run into any of the lower ratings? Like I said, I just put the book back out there. I have no idea what's going to happen, and I'm going to keep that in mind because, like I said, and I already know, I already know my writing isn't for everybody. It's silly. It's about coffee. It's about how I got through. It's my story and how I got through my stuff. And if I can help others, that's why I put it out there. Like this is what helped me, and if it helps you do, feel better too, then yay. So I just need to remind myself of that. But I feel like I'm kind of preparing myself for, one, two, three, four. I don't have a problem with 4 stars, but one, two, and three. Like if I just start getting those out there, I really don't want to be like, I waited 53 years, 55 years to have, republished, to put myself back out there, to have these people put me down. So, and again, I wrote for myself, not for these other people. So, your point, thank you so much for that. Like, I feel so much better for the three, one, two, and 3 star reviews that I haven't gotten yet.
Thing is just accepting that they will happen because everybody has an opinion. And again, I do think it's people that are creatively repressed themselves. And one thing that gave me a lot of comfort because I remember I did a birth chart reading with a business astrology and she was looking at my Amazon page and she scrolled all the way down to my very first works that I published when I was like 19 or 20 and they were not the best works and they had like an average rating of like 3.5 stars or whatever. And I'm like, oh shit, those have some bad reviews. And I was like jarred by that. I was like, I couldn't even focus on the rest of the session because I was so activated. And she was talking to me about how those people who leave those low reviews and those trolling remarks, when she thinks about them, she thinks of like this tender inner child they have inside that once upon a time brought their art, their writing to like parent or someone they trusted, and that parent just like ripped it up or tore it to shreds. So now they are responding from a wound. And thinking about that, I'm like, can I just feel bad for that person? Because someone who's happy and creatively expressed, they're going to be happy that other people are out there being creatively expressed and they're going to celebrate the heck out of those people. So anyone who's doing the trolling, can we just feel sad for them? And again, not make it about us.
I 100%. I love, and that's like in my head, I was thinking like the macaroni art, right? We had to do macaroni art as kids, and macaroni art is, I mean, you can make it like super fancy now. There are people out there doing crazy ass TikToks and stuff like that with like, God only knows Q-tips, I'm sure. But back in the day, art wasn't exactly fostered. Not everybody, it was definitely not fostered in my family. It was something you did as a hobby. You didn't try to make a living at it, which is why it took me, 55 years to put myself out there. I had to work 30 years. I had to go through a whole bunch of crap. And now I'm just like, no, I don't want to do that anymore. Like, I want to express myself creatively. That's why I love the podcast. That's why I love talking with authors, because I'm just like, there are other people out there like me who feel joy in creating, and we just want to have fun and we just want to celebrate that.
Totally.
Yeah. So, okay. So, couple things that I really enjoyed about your book was that the protein heavy meals, absolutely loved that. Um, but what I really liked was bacon for the win. So bacon, 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 bacon. And without giving anything away, one of my favorite lines was when she made some bacon and his response was, "Good girl." I was like, bacon, that literally I was like, bacon for the win.
If you don't put good girl in a paranormal romance novel, you're doing it wrong. That's what I've learned from my readership of those type of books.
For me, it was just about the food. I was like, oh, I'm all in
Yeah.
for it. I was like, give me all the food. And so to that point, I wore my sushi socks today. I'm not going to show you them, but I'll take a picture offline. But I was debating. I was like, do I wear my unicorn socks today or do I wear my sushi socks today? I was like, well, Kayla and I already did the unicorn thing, so I'm going to go for sushi today. So I wore my sushi socks for you.
We just talk about sharks and unicorns. Like that has to be two topics that probably don't get covered a lot, but they're so fun.
Right? I mean, come on. I mean, I do have mad respect for sharks. Like sharks are awesome, but yes, they are terrifying, like at the same time, but they are amazing. Like they're amazing creatures. Like we need them in the water. Like it's really cool. So, thank you for sharing that story, Lisa. I'm very new to paranormal romance isn't clearly something that I read, in general, but I can still appreciate a good story. And that's really what it comes down to is there a good story? I felt a lot in it. So clearly, as a writer, you're doing something right. I wanted justice. I laughed. I felt things. So even if I did skip the sexy parts, I still felt something. I hated the villains. So clearly it's you're doing storytelling right. So kudos to you.
You, I appreciate it.
So, um, the current writing that you're doing, things that you're working on right now, what is that? How are you going to be are you making new stories? Are you going to like what are you doing now that you have rediscovered the power of writing?
Oh my goodness, where do I start? So first of all, I am editing and beta reading and all the things for that third book in the Great White Shadows Pacific Heat series because I saved my favorite couple for last. And then I'm going back and editing their book, and I'm like, why did I just abandon their book out of all of the characters? And as I mentioned, it was Tyson and Austin. They do have like little Easter eggs and nuggets put in like the first book and the second book. But what I'm doing now is a little bit more personal and creative. So I don't know, are you familiar with internal family systems? Okay, so it is a healing modality and it's a very powerful one where you have like your main personality and then you've got what they call protector parts. And these are parts that are trying to like keep you safe, keep you like, in check. And then you've got exiles. And these are like very tender, vulnerable, often younger parts. And I've been trained in this work and I've been doing this work for maybe the last 4 or 5 years. And it's a very powerful modality. But here's the challenge I had with it. As someone who had to become a parentified child at about the age of 6, as someone who never wanted to become a mom, I have a lot of challenges with needing to parent a bunch of little younger selves. And I also have to imagine that real moms who are taking care of everybody else, who have real children to take care of, are going to have similar challenges. Like, oh my goodness, I just gave everything to my real children. And now on my healing journey, I've got to go and parent my own inner self. Like, that's a lot. That's very tiring. That's exhausting. And internal family systems was created by a man. I'm not surprised. Not that there's anything wrong with the system, but this was my challenge with it. So, what I've started to do for myself is create these two archetypal figures. And one of them is like the fire dad. So, he's the one who gives the challenge, the push, the structure. And you need that in your life, like if you want to go forward and create your goals. And I was very much connected to that archetype. And I also have this other figure, and he is like the emotional stability, the softness, the one that reminds you it's okay to like slow down and rest and take a break. So I've really been working with these two characters personally, not in a novel. And I've been using these two characters to weave in all of this internal family systems work I know how to do. I've been using it and bringing in like my somatic tools, my embodiment, my dance alchemy. And I've been creating what's a little bit of my own modality, taking what I've been learning for the last decade and turning it into a really healing, transformative thing that's playful and fun. And if you like the sexy scenes, you can create the sexy scenes using this. And if you don't like that, they can just, tell you good job and you can keep it PG. But that's been what I've really been working on. And now I'm starting to take my first few clients through this process for themselves, where they have a goal. And right now I'm working with people who have health and fitness goals. And then they create their own figures, their own archetypes that are based on, their preferences and all of that. And they create this ongoing story. So a little bit of like a role playing game, but with their goals, with what they're working on. And it has changed my life more than anything else I've ever done. And it feels fun and I want to do it. And I'm like, this is what the health and fitness journey is missing, because in the health and fitness journey, it feels like a have to, it feels like a should. There's a lot of like societal expectations on how we should eat and how we should look, especially as women. But this is about taking back that narrative power of like, no, I'm on a heroine's journey or I'm on a hero's journey and I'm doing these quests and I'm doing these adventures and I'm leveling up through the story. And I am not having to do it alone because I've created these archetypal figures that give me both passion and safety at the same time. And one of them is kind of like your dopamine and one's your serotonin. And that's big challenge that we have in today's world is like a lot of people have too much dopamine, not enough serotonin. So they're always charging forward, creating burnout, creating this hustle culture. And meanwhile, if you don't have that ability to enjoy where you are and slow down and be present, you're going to crumble and you're not going to be happy. So having both of these as like archetypal figures, and if you like that kind of thing, making them fall in love with each other, you just make it so that your healing journey and all of these challenges, these push-pull dynamics we have in our personal growth journeys, when you take all of these different push-pull dynamics that happen in the personal growth industry, and then you integrate them, you turn it into a love story instead of like playing tug of war on both sides of the
I love that. So, and that's really cool because that's something that I want to say it's unique and it's it's taking personal aspects and fictional aspects and marrying them and creating a new way to heal, a new tool to heal. Because, we've been told journaling is a good tool, eating right is a good tool, sleeping, so, right? We have all of these tools. And it's like sometimes you just don't want to. Doing the work is hard. It is. It's hard. Especially, if you're going through something, sleeping, eating. Sometimes we're self-destructive. Sometimes we don't eat the right things. We don't want to, maybe you want to just live off of bacon. It's not healthy. It's not a good idea. But, whatever self-destructive path you may find yourself on, ways to self-correct and writing is a great tool. So it's really interesting to hear you say, taking parts of yourself and putting it into this creative format. Like my mind is blown. I'm just like, wow. I'm like, how? Again, I wish I would have known about all of these tools when I was younger. Like, think about how many tools there are out there now, and
Hmm.
think about how people didn't have the tools. We were not given these tools, 20, 30 years ago or 10 years ago. Like, these are things that we had to learn on our own. These are things that we had to discover. Like, we had to hit walls. We had to do self-destructive behavior. We had to not eat right. We had to not sleep. Like, so many bad things we had to experience and feel. And now there's podcasts and there's people and there's writing and there's so many ways that you can go, oh, you know what? I don't have to be this. I don't have to do these things. I can do this and I can heal and I can feel better and be happy. The magic freaking word, right?
Yes.
Wow, that's really cool. That's really cool, Kayla. So your story, like I said, is it's so crazy how you had to go through all of it's it's sad that you had to go through all of that, but the fact that you're able to learn from it, process it, share it, and help others. Like, again, that's why you're here. So thank you for that.
You are very welcome.
So, I don't know if you remember, the tagline is "Go forth and be magical." So, if you would please send us off with a "Go forth and be magical," we will wrap up this fantastic journey that we've been on today.
Yes. So go forth and be magical.